Do you struggle with winches?
Has that ever happened to you? Call me right now, please.
Well, I'm struggling with this one. I've had this winch apart twice now since I bought the boat last year. It hardly worked when I bought the boat. It works-ish right now. There's a lot of play, and it sounds like crap when it's being used. So the first time I took it apart, I did a half-ass job. The second time I did it, I did a three-quarter-ass job, and I'm gonna try to do a whole-ass job now. So what this is a Barient 27, and what I'm going to do to this winch can pretty much apply to any of these old Barient winches, and indeed any kind of modern winch. They're all sort of the same idea. There hasn't been any huge leaps in the standard winches. There's some fancy stuff out there, but that doesn't apply here. So first things first, you got to get the top off. Sometimes there's a split ring, sometimes it's a screw in the bottom that you got to undo. With this one, it's this plate here, and there's these two holes. Now, maybe once upon a time there was a specialty tool with two pins that went in there that you could take it off, but if you don't have one of those, and I do not, you can use two Allen keys. You simply insert and twist. That was easy. You're gonna want something to put this mess of crap in. This is I think it's for feeding animals on a farm. Princess Auto Special, of course. It's just something metal that I can put the metal pieces into, and then pour some acetone onto to de-gunk. Gloves are always a good idea. I'm gonna back up a little bit because that's precarious. I do not want to lose any piece of this overboard because it's gross in here, and I'm not going in after it. All right, let me back up. All right, so now that that piece is off, the whole thing actually just lifts right up. This has a race of some kind that sits in there. Doesn't look too bad. That's because of my three-quarter ass job. Now these I grease with Harkin winch grease, and they seem to be okay still. These bearings, they're roller bearings, and yeah, they all seem to be in pretty good, smooth working order. So that's not the source of my problem. My problem is under here, and in this particular winch, there's some Allen keyed bolts that's holding this piece onto the base. Let's get that off. Do that. Okay, so with those three bolts undone, this whole piece just lifts and comes apart easily. So I think part of my problem, actually, you insert this again. Is there play down there? No, not really. Where is the play happening? Unclear. Well, that actually doesn't look too bad to me, you know? So there's three more bolts here that have to come out so I can get at this. Now see, this thing moves around like crazy, but hold on. Let's get this reinserted. So that pin rests there. Honestly, I don't know. It all seems fine to me. And my 3/4 ass job doesn't look that bad. Alright, let's take it apart anyway. Great. So if I pull this apart, number of critical pieces here. Okay, so there are some more roller bearings, and these things were in really rough shape before, but seem to be okay now. They haven't gotten worse. There's another set of roller bearings there that sit inside here and spin. Doesn't seem to be much play there either. If I take this apart, we'll find some pawls. There they are. So these little pawls grab inside here, so you can spin in one direction but not the other. Really? Same thing here. Some more pawls. And those pulls spin around in there. I don't know what the problem is, and that's frustrating. So as I mentioned, this is a Barient winch, but Barient went out of business a long time ago, so you won't find Barient grease or pawl oil, but what you will find is Harkin branded grease and pawl oil. And guess what? They work. You could probably get away with using non-marine specific, what I'm assuming is a lithium grease and just a basic lubricant oil. But seeing as I'm a sucker for the real thing, I go ahead and I spend the marine premium to get the marine product. But before putting that all back together, I'm gonna go to town. Got a little handy dandy wire brush. Got my acetone. We're gonna try and do the whole ass job. Blue shop cloths. Never have enough of these things. Alright, first things first. Just gonna liberally pour some of this stuff around. This is the point of this metal dish, so that I can get away with that. Acetone is an extremely powerful solvent, and it reeks. So I would not recommend using it indoors. Arguably, I should be wearing a mask right now even, but I got a fresh breeze on me, so I feel okay about it. All I'm really trying to do here is make sure that these gears, the teeth for these gears, are as clean as possible. There's no schmutz and preventing smooth operation. My fear, of course, is that no amount of cleaning is going to make this winch perform as it did 40 years ago. So that means in the fullness of time, winch replacement, which sucks because winches are bloody expensive. It's interesting, there's a bearing in here that I cannot get out. Okay. Okay. Good enough. I'm gonna start just by oiling those pulls that I showed you before. That's these guys here. They're working great, but you know, just a little dab. Little dab will do. Work it around a bit. That's a happy sound. Let's try this guy. Dabaroo. Dabby dab dab. Dab in there. Work it around. This is exciting. Isn't this like the most riveting YouTube you've seen in a while? So, with that pull oil in place. Okay. That sounds better than it did. Now, I just arrogantly ripped this whole thing apart. Thinking, you know, that I'm obviously very smart. Because I've done it before. But just because you've done it before doesn't mean you're gonna do it right every time. So that was maybe a bit dumb. Should have taken a picture. That's what you should do. You should take a picture. Now, obviously I'm taking video right now. So if I really get stuck, I can go back and watch myself, as painful as that might be. Grease. You don't need a ton of this stuff, but it's important that you don't skimp either. At least that's my view. Make sure there's ample grease on all of the roller bearings and all these other little points that connect. So, is that like that? I think so. I think so. And that means that this guy is getting some lube. This little friend was right in here. And then this guy, I know this guy was the center one because it's got the spines. He was like, here, let's get some more grease going. Grease this whole area. Like that, maybe? That seems rightish. Actually, more grease, folks. Don't be shy. Should slide down like so. Haha. Now more grease. Just gonna grease the top of this thing, just in case. Now this did what exactly? Yes, that's right. That one like that. I don't know if there's torque specs for this, but I'm just doing it tight. Okay, so, oh, remember that guy there. Let's put some grease in here on this bearing that I couldn't get out. Now, I'm going to take some more grease and do the bottom of this. So you can see there's some rub lines on there, so I'm wondering if that is the source of my problems. Yeah, because you can see, I bet there is play. That's where my play is, I imagine. Okay, so let's get this thing reinstalled. So once again, I don't know what the torque specs are. I'm just going for good and tight. Still got that wiggle woggle. Wiggle woggle? You can see it's pretty easy to get these things off and then back on. Reverse for tightening it up. Well, I will say it sounds a little better. Still has that annoying play in it. Hopefully that was helpful. Bye.